to really have gender equality in all what we do. Because I think women are agents of change. We make change happen for our families, for our work, for our communities, for our country. And, there is a long way to go. You've mentioned it, but progress is not enough, and there is still a long way still forward. No country in the world has managed to be on track on the 2030 gender equality goal. Not even Europe, not even Korea, as you mentioned. And one of the dimensions of this is about participation of women in decision-making, in power positions, in leadership, in politics. And there we are even perhaps more down the way. You know that only 25% of women are members of parliaments around the world. In Korea, this is now around 19th in your last election, they tell me. But at least you have moved, and even 2% is small, but it's a movement. In Europe, on parliamentary and political positions, there we are perhaps more advanced. So we are 40% now in the last European Parliament. So this is important because more women means also more gender dimension in all the policies, in all the legislation that we do, in all the decisions, changing a bit the management culture in business, which is important. If we look at other dimensions like peace and security, we don't only speak about women as victims, but women as persons that can provide another vision of conflict prevention, of crisis management. And this is all important. It paves the way for better legislation. But we need to change many other things. There are many challenges. This is about creating putting ceilings that we really comply with in boards, in business, also in our administrations.
I put it a bit in context. Mm-hmm. Like I told you, the history from the independence until 1994 was where really we were in a context where there is a lot of segregation, whether by ethnicity, by background, by let's say by region, but also even being in a position where if you have all sets of groups, even religion groups that are being segregated, you could imagine that the cause of women was really not on the table. So when you talk about the current gender equality journey, it is it's a very much very new journey. So expecting to see the result in such a short time, like 100%, wouldn't be very realistic. I think it's important to keep that in mind. However, I think the top-down approach was critical because as much as we were doing the gender equality journey, it's not something we did as a second journey. It was done in parallel as we were reconstructing the country. So a genocide leaves the country with a lot of social issues. You have families that lost a lot of loved ones. You have women that didn't have access necessarily to education and everything, that have to find a way to raise their families, find a living. So it had to be top down. There was no really way about it. And I think in 27 years, the structural issues are still there. So like you say, indeed, we've seen a lot of growth in terms of parliament. I think we are still, I think this year we're the first parliament with a high representation of women. We see a lot of representation of women in the government with a lot of ministers, sometimes at parity, sometimes a bit higher. So I think the political participation of women was a very strong message to the society. But indeed, you're right. There is still some room to go. When you look at, let's say, like local government, there are more women, but again, you still feel the weight of course, the culture, the history, where women, like in many countries, are still going for specific type of roles. Roles that are usually, social care, because I guess there is this sense that women cannot necessarily handle a certain level of pressure. But I think this is changing a lot because we've been doing a lot of effort in terms of education, which was our main weakness. And we see a lot of more women that are participating. But there is a structural issue in general where education, maybe at tertiary level, is still low. So it affects women, but it also affects boys. So to see the result will probably take a longer time. But I think in terms of mindset, it has changed a lot, especially for the men that I feel now feel the cause is theirs as much as it's women's cause. And I think it's critical. I don't think the gender equality journey, it's like we all know, it's not about women only, it's about the society. And Rwanda is a very ambitious country. We want to go far and we want to go there quite quickly. And we need 100% of our human capital. That's the biggest resource we have. So having women and young girls completely invested in that journey is critical.
It has changed, the supports that working mums get have improved exponentially. I think we are better now at kind of appreciating the importance of things like networks and mutual support and mentoring and coaching and peer support. All of that has improved a lot. We're also getting more intelligent at calling out bad behaviours in the workplace. And we are getting better at being sophisticated in how we call out bad behaviours. We no longer sort of run away to our corners and complain. We're more confident now as professionals to say, I'm sorry, that's not okay, what you just said. So I think that's important. Another thing that we're working on in Ireland, which I think is really important and potentially transformative, is workplace policies for the menopause. And so, we're quite conscious of getting women through that bump in their career when they're having babies and they're dealing with childcare issues, and that's good. We've got to a good place now on that. But quite often we get women sort of in their sort of late 40s, early 50s, some of whom experience really awful menopause symptoms. And in many cases, those women drop out of the workplace. And of course, once the menopause is gone, women are full of energy, vitality, experience, expertise. And if you can get them over that hump, you have them for another 10 years. So even if you look at this from a cold, hard economic perspective, it makes sense to give women those flexibilities to, frankly, go home and have a nap or open the window if they need to, or just a workplace understanding that women at this age reach a tough time. So the government of Ireland is introducing menopause workplace policies across different departments and encouraging some of our corporate partners to do the same. So there's an emerging area of good practice there too.
I've worn many different hats, and I believe in life in cycles of about 5 years. You've got to get out of your comfort zone to grow. And when we confine ourselves to just one career or, just a certain kind of cuisine, we deprive ourselves of the richness, the abundance of wonderful experiences that exist out there and are, just waiting for us to tap. By far, whereas I've had, lots of professional engagements, each of which has been satisfying in its own way, by far one of the best things, in fact, the best thing I have ever done is have my sons. They are the greatest gift that I have. And I say that taking note of the fact that I do not believe that children are for everybody. You don't have to have a child to be supportive of children. You can adopt, or you can also help society in different ways. Not everybody is fulfilled by that experience. But I think that overall, it helps ground you, and it opens up your world to being more about the universe and not just you. You have something greater to live for than just the next shopping excursion or vacation. You're accountable to somebody. You have this great responsibility of shaping somebody. And it is possible to be a fantastic parent. I try to be a great parent. Now, what my children say about me is I think they would agree, but who knows? And hold a career down. It is possible to balance it. Millions of women across the world do it. Is it challenging? Yes. The balance is what is difficult. There will be frustrating moments where you will miss your child's soccer match because you've got to work late or you've got to be out of town. So you will not be perfect. You won't be the best at everything all the time. But overall, to go through life with a box that belongs to, the universe itself as a citizen of the globe, to be a parent, it's as demanding as being a child, because we've got responsibilities to our parents too, and then work. I think that grows you, and it makes you a productive member of society, which we all try to be. My advice to the young, smart, global citizens that I'm increasingly meeting who are Korean women is take what you have and expand it. You can be all that. You can decide to have one child, hold a career. You can decide to switch the career. You can decide to be hybrid. You can work from home and perhaps go into the office X number of times a day. Pick a career path that is not work, that is not laborious, something that's enjoyable and that also gives you the flexibility to do the other things that are fulfilling at a personal level. It can be done.
Coming from a family where my mother was a lawyer, practicing this profession just after the war, I have a nice approach that everybody could succeed if he is willing to. We have a lot of ladies ambassadors, and not just ambassadors, but young diplomats, and I am very glad also to see here in MOFA nowadays a lot of director generals and deputy ministers, but many young women in the diplomatic service. It's nice to find out that if we have the opportunity to study and we have to use your own capabilities, we can succeed, never mind the sex.